Hi, good evening. Welcome to the John Gaunt Show. This is going to be a cracker. I'm asking you a question, and it's not just about Keir Starmer. This is the United Kingdom, is Britain still a democracy? Do we really live in a democracy? Do they listen to us? What's your opinion? Put your comment in the comments box, and I'll come to them as the show progresses. But that's the question. Is the United Kingdom really a democracy? It's a question that makes every single politician very uncomfortable. Because this week, just yesterday, it was unbelievable, wasn't it? Keir Starmer tried to get away with cancelling local elections. Now, nobody bloody votes in them anyway, but it's a point of principle. If you are denied your democratic right, but they still want you to pay your council tax, that just is not correct. So he didn't want to postpone a press conference. He didn't want to not review a policy. He wanted to cancel elections. Let that just drop into your head for a moment. Where does that lead to? And well done to Nigel Farage and indeed to Reform UK, because they stopped this lousy Labour Party getting their way. And now they're all going on about the cost. Well, there'd be no real cost if you just let people have their democratic vote. But I'm telling you, I've been thinking about this. Well, mostly today I've been thinking about the wonderful victory by the mighty Sky Blues last night. 3-1 against Middlesbrough. I told you we would thrash them, and we did. But anyway, I've been thinking about that. But I've been thinking about, do we live in a democracy? Because I don't think we do. We're always told democracy is sacred. But then do you remember Brexit? It was the biggest, the largest democratic vote in British history. The public spoke. The political establishment, and I include every major political party in that, and indeed, obviously, the mainstream, lamestream media, particularly the BBC, panicked because they couldn't believe what the people decided. I don't even think Nigel Farage could, actually, if I'm being truthful, because we voted for it, for Brexit. But then what followed were years of delay, obstruction, massive attempts and success to water down Brexit. And this was all helped along by the BBC, The Guardian, and many other mainstream, lamestream news outlets. None of them wanted it because we, the plebs, had actually spoken out of turn. But let me ask you this then. If they, the establishment, could ignore a bloody referendum and then they try to cancel elections, why are we bothering voting? What is the point? So tonight, it's not even about left or right. It's about whether your vote still means anything at all. Can you get involved in the chat now? Tell me. You just write the word yes, we still live in a democracy, or no, we don't. Because I don't think we do anymore. And I'm not just blaming this government. The previous government, Rishi, Boris, do they actually care what we think? Boris Johnson wrote down 2 different ways to approach Brexit, both for and against. He could have gone either way. Theresa May delayed things, deliberately made it not work. And then people say to me, oh, Brexit, that didn't effing work, did it? Well, we never got the Brexit we voted for. The establishment didn't allow it. And therefore, you've got to ask the question, are we a democracy? Do you see where I'm coming from? I would like you to think about this, because if it's a democracy, just remind me, when did we vote for all this woke bollocks? There's a contradiction. You can't say woke bollocks. Woke cobblers. When did we vote for open borders? When did we vote for Barraclough out of Porridge to be in charge of our prisons rather than Fulton Mackay? When do they actually ever care? And then I saw today Nigel Farage launched his, well, he's calling it the shadow cabinet. It wasn't really a cabinet. It was an IKEA 4-drawer chest, wasn't it? Chest of drawers. There were only 4 people in it. Pathetic. And do you know what I also thought? Most of them were ex-Tories. The very twats who got us into this position in the first place. So even though I support reform in the sense of they can't be worse than the others, what a way to think of life. They can't be as bad. And that's why we're going to vote for them. That's what got us into this mess in the first place. Everybody voted for Starmer, Mr. Bland, Mr. Vanilla, Mr. Beige. But it makes you wonder, doesn't it? What happens now? Because if elections can be cancelled, and it was within a whisker that this wouldn't be overturned. So I think it's only because Farage has suddenly got a whole load of money donated, he could afford to take them off. And they called it unlawful. Just think about that. But the bloke who's behind it, he's still got a job. And so has Starmer. They absolutely don't care about us. So if elections can be cancelled, how can we call ourselves a democracy? If referendums are ignored, like Brexit, is there any point in voting? If the manifestos, like Starmer's manifesto, is just bullshit, and they make 15 U-turns, or they create new things that they want to do that weren't in the manifesto, all the manifesto said was change. Well, nothing changed. They're not the adults. They're still the pigs with their snouts in the trough. If governments, whether they're Labour, Tory, or even Reform, only respect the results they agree with, who's really in charge? So are we a democracy? Who's pulling the strings of Starmer? Let's talk this through. Don't know if you remember the Bonzo Dog Doodah band. They sang this line: there is no point in voting. The government always get in. That was meant to be satire. But I think it's uncomfortably accurate nowadays. Don't you? Whoever you vote for, they're all the same. Look today at the people Farage was saying, oh, Jenrick, I can't bear that bloke, by the way. Jenrick's going to be this. What's he going to be? Chancellor of the Exchequer. There he is in his smart suit. It's just the same. The song remains the same. I hope that they are going to be different. But to me, I've got this terrible feeling. And don't start saying it'll be different if Rupert got in, because it wouldn't. And it isn't just about wearing suits. You know, it's a bit like the class. What song's that? Is it White Man in Hammersmith Palais? Somebody called and asked, would the lads wear suits? Would the band wear suits? It's that kind of thing. Turning rebellion into money. Yes, White Man in Hammersmith Palais, isn't it? But that's the kind of thing I'm saying. Whoever we vote for, when they allow us to vote, we'll just get the same people. Get the blob, get the civil service, get all the public school boys. What's the point in voting? So I'm taking it head on. Are voters being sidelined? Is democracy now so hollowed out by the political class they can just make it their cozy clubs? I've told you a million times, they're all shagging each other and people in the MSM, yeah? Literally and metaphorically. And if elections can be cancelled today, what's going to get cancelled tomorrow? I want your views on this. I think this is the way to take the debate on after yesterday's show. And I've got to say to Farage, brilliant and well done for stopping him doing this. But we've got a government letting out prisoners, rapists. We've got a government allowing the flip-flop warriors to come in and rape our women. I didn't vote for that. And if there was a vote tomorrow, paedophiles, they'd be strung up from the lamppost, because that's what the British public want. The British public are fair. They're tolerant. They are not racist. Who's pushing this agenda that we are? Because we're not. And this is a great society. When did we vote? Tell me, please, for all this woke ideology in schools. Today they were debating, shall we drop religious education? No, we shouldn't. Give the kids a bit of spine. I'm not religious anymore, but it's important to know about the religion of this country. It's important to know about other religions. Not as important, but it is important to understand what Christianity is. We're a Christian country. When did we vote to scrap trials by jury? I must have missed that. Was that in the manifesto, or was that just thick boy, biscuit knicker, Jaffa cake special scoffing Lammy's latest idea? When did we vote for it? When did we vote for Ukraine? How many times does Starmer say, oh, here's another 500 million, and by the way, the whole of our nation is behind you? No, they're not. And then, of course, Brexit, all of those lickspittles in the mainstream, they tried to derail Brexit. They tried to derail they succeeded, to be honest, the democratic will of this great nation. And now Starmer's doing it again. Did you see him in Munich only last weekend? Oh, we got to be tighter with the EU. No, we have not. I've got no problems with trading with them. We don't want any agreements, though. We should be in bed, if there's enough room, with Donald Trump, if you understand. It's a metaphor. Let's have your views. And if you were at the mighty arena last night and saw the mighty Sky Blues win, I'm going to allow you to brag about that as well, because it was brilliant. What did they put in their tea last night? They were back to their best. And poor old miserable Middlesbrough, fancy having to come from a shithole like that. Just a joke. They just were shell-shocked. Well, I'm shell-shocked with what politicians are doing. Who says, it was Billy Connolly, wasn't it? Don't vote. It only encourages them. And when I looked at that lineup of reform today, was it a case of the song remains the shame? Now that's an agenda. Take part tonight, put your contributions in, your ideas, and let's get talking. You can always listen again tomorrow, not to the repeat of my show, but you can listen to it on every other poxy talk jock in the country who'll have nicked my ideas and watered them down so they didn't upset the bosses. We know how it works. But here we are. Let's go. Dave starts off tonight. He says, worst Prime Minister in history, says Dave. Starmer, yes, can't disagree with that. Thank you very much indeed. Pop something stupid, ridiculous name on YouTube says, hello, question mark. Yeah, hello. Weird, won't let me type what I wanted to say. Well, what were you trying to say? Don't give me this conspiracy, this paranoid, oh, I'm such a fucking radical. John Gaunt censors what I say. No, I don't. And nor does YouTube. Just write what you're saying. Aim high, vote low, says, that's your actual, your name, is it, on YouTube? Aim high, vote low. You think Rupert Lowe would make any difference? Have you seen the way he looked after Southampton Football Club? He's part of the same thing. What I'm trying to say is there's a political class. People used to go into politics after doing trade unionism or running a small family business. It wasn't their profession. It's a bit like stand-up comedy. When I first promoted stand-up comedy, alternative comedy, as they called it then, people like Harry Enfield and the rest of them, it wasn't a career. Now there's bloody university courses in how to be a stand-up comedian. That's not what it was meant to be. You may have a view, you may not. Let's talk about it. Den Spink says it's a wokeocracy, John. Yeah, I think you're probably right there, Den. Thank you. No, it's all an illusion, says Magic Evils on YouTube. He doesn't think we live in a democracy. Tony Whitworth. UK government abandons plans to delay 30 council elections. Yeah, well, we know that. That's what I'm talking about. I was talking about it last night. Well, parasites in Parliament are always making a joke about reform. Small party, but with a big roar. And 4 million people take back their votes. Yeah, but you do realise that 4 million people won't all vote. And they certainly won't vote for reform. This is the ultimate irony. When I was at the game last night, I was speaking to my mate Bernie about this, and I was saying, I think it's really important that people don't cancel elections, even though I understand why this came about. But no one bloody votes in council elections anyway. They're all jumped up twats. They're worse than MPs. It can't be hard to run a council. What do you have to do? Clear the dog shit up, put the lights on, which I don't bother doing at the moment, overnight, and fill up the paddling pools. That's about it, isn't it? That's about local government. We should scrap loads of the councils. I'm kind of half agreeing with Keir Starmer on that. Only problem is, he wants to run it all himself. He couldn't run a fucking bath. Where are we going next? Hold on a minute. If you want to join in, feel free. I need your opinions. I've just closed off the comments. I'm an idiot. You're an idiot. Right. David KT says, democracy is an illusion. The state will always get their way. Well, that's where I'm coming to, David. I think you're right. Not only do they always get their own way, how can you have a democracy when you've got first past the post? It's got to be PR, surely a form of proportional representation. I never used to agree with this, but I do now. How do we get our say? I think maybe we need more referendums. God help us. But you understand where I'm coming from with this kind of argument. Can you have a democracy when you've still got one family in charge and a king? I'm a monarchist and I'm saying this. I can hardly believe I'm saying it. But that filthy pervert, and he is a pervert. I don't know if he's a paedophile, but he's a pervert. He should get his sorry public schoolboy arse over to Washington immediately and be questioned about what he knew about the pedo. And the same with Mandelson. Why are we hanging about? Why are we hanging about? Get them in the orange overalls, get them in the hold of a cargo plane, and get them out of our country. Both of them. I'm not saying they're guilty, but I'm saying they've got questions to answer. Richard Pope says, I'm sure the illegals are benefiting from a lack of democracy. I think they are. Good evening, John. Sky Blues did themselves proud last night. Keep it up. Play up, Sky Blues. You're right. It was a great game. But don't forget, one swallow does not make a summer. By the way, no one's donated any cash. In fact, no one's really donated the last few days. She's downstairs at the moment. She's got the big ledger out. She's got Bob Cratchit next to her. And she's saying, are you going to make any money today, John? And the answer looks like no again. If you like what I do and you'd like to contribute to make these podcasts better, to make them continue, please donate by just pressing the $ and donate a few quid. Or go to www.buymeacoffee.com/John Gaunt and donate there. Buy me a coffee or buy me a beer. That's £5 a time. Some people do 10. Some people did 50. But you don't have to. Just what you can afford. Yes, we've got some advertising revenue, but it ain't enough. Let me tell you. Let me tell you that. Oh, here's something that happened last night. We managed to get back from the football. Whoever built the Rico, as it was, or CBS Arena, it makes it sound like American. They still haven't sorted out the car parking. You wait forever to get out the bloody car park, right? So we only got back to Earlsdon to Spoons about 10 to 11, I think it was. And it was the first time I've ever gone into a Spoons and it was empty. It was a bit like a ghost ship. Only stayed for the one. Civil service is the real problem. Yes, but who creates the civil service, Jay Gregory? I agree with you. But who controls them? This is why I'm quite excited by Farage's idea of having a few people in the cabinet who aren't MPs. The mainstream media hate that. The political class hate it. But that might be good. It'll professionalise it. But the civil service, let's face it, it's crap, isn't it? Who's this one now? Tammy Rick. Evening all. Have you not got anything to say? Because that's really the idea of the game. It's because our institutions have become feminised. That's why. What? What do you mean feminised? Explain that to me, Jay Gregory. There's no need. Are you having a go at women, or are you saying it's all a bit soft? And because there's some women I know in public life who are as hard as nails, harder than the blokes. So I don't really understand that. It's not a democracy. Why are career politicians so bloody useless? Absolutely. If they had a real job, they'd be out on their arse, wouldn't they? And that's one of the problems. The fact that it's become a professional. So we've a professional job. So we've now got a professional class. Oh, I'm a politician. What do you want to be when you grow up, Sonny? I want to be a politician. If they said, I want to be leader of the world, I want to be prime minister, then that's okay. That's like a massive ambition, isn't it? But I want to be a backbench MP. I think not. Hi, John, says Craig. Hi, thank you very much. The fact that people are talking like this is a good sign. It shows awareness, says Mark Friston. Thank you, Mark. I think I'm right on the ball here. Hi, John. They're moaning about the cost of the local elections. This is Niven Casey. But don't have a problem wasting billions on the Shagus surrender. They're happy to crap on our country, but not to tell malicious to Foxtrot off or whatever it is, to F off. He's right. He's absolutely right. I was watching that today. Have you seen some of the people from the Chagas? They've just gone back to their island. They put up a tent and they're saying we're staying. And the problem now is the person who was heading up the legal side of it, he's in all kinds of financial problems. It's all another big sorry mess. I have got a solution. Kill two birds with one stone. Why don't we send all the flip-flop warriors to the Chagos? It's going to take months to sort out what's happening. We'll give them earplugs for when the big nuclear jets take off and stuff, but let's send them there. No, just an idea. Gotta say, Jim Garfield's just donated £10 on YouTube. He's clicked that little $sign and put a tenner into the pot. Jim, I know you've done it before and you're doing it again. Thank you very much indeed. He says, no democracy. Plans to cancel elections. The plan, I hadn't thought about this, you're right. Imposing digital ID. Well, he's had to collapse that as well. The fact that he wants to limit jury trials. He's censoring online speech. Yeah, he's doing that by saying, got to protect the children. Too fucking late, you idiot. And you can't defend our borders at Dover. How are you going to defend the internet all over the world? You're not. Stop giving sound bites and do something practical. Paedophiles. Death. Well, there's the answer to that one, right? Anyone who abuses a child, it's got to be maximum sentences. Not just a little slap on the wrist. And that goes also for perverts like Hugh Edwards. How come he didn't go to jail? I'd have sent him to the Chagos. He could be building a new bloody pier for the lads when they land. All of this, says Jim, back to his point, without any political mandate. This demonstrates a dictatorship. Make Brexit work, Starmer, in 2024. Yeah, because you're right. He was desperately trying to reverse it even when he became Prime Minister. And before. Yes, he was. Now he says he doesn't want to. But he's now doing it by the back door. He loves the back door. He loves getting legislation in and anything else. Stuff it in the back door because he doesn't care what you think. Do you see what I'm saying? Dodgy Dave. Who's Dodgy Dave? If we leave the EU, that's it. We're out. Then did one. What a coward. Not giving the people what they voted for. I don't think that's true. I think in a way he was quite brave if you're talking about David Cameron. He should have stayed to deliver, but he said it was so against what he thought was right. He left. He didn't do what some of the others are doing, just scrapping for a living. I don't think you should be so anti him on that level. Mind you, it's only a scale, isn't it, Tony? You know what I mean? It's a scale. I dread to think where this country will be in 20 years from now. Just look how much has changed in the last 40 years. I'll tell you where it'll be. It'll be like a third world shithole. That's where it'll be. That's where it'll be. With no morals, no law, no nothing, no spine, no pride. And that isn't just down to people coming into the country. That's people in the country as well. I'm trying to enjoy the stream. Please don't use this for personal conversation. Also, the stream keeps freezing. Since when did you become the censor or the owner of my channel? Tameric 9732. The answer is you haven't, right? If people want to say hello to each other, let them. And if the stream keeps freezing, well, I think that's your connection. Can't you see you're just as annoying? In fact, I'll tell you how annoying you are. There was a bloke behind me, right, at the football last night, and he kept shouting out, man on, right? Every time, whichever one of our players has got the ball, he's trying to tell them, careful, there's somebody who's going to tackle you in a minute. They're professional footballers. Do they need some fat, foul-mouthed yob telling them that? When did you last coach? You're the size of a bloody coach, but you can't say anything, can you? You've got to be polite. These people, they think they know everything about football. I know nothing, which is a much better position to be in. Here we go. Oh, he's back again, the radical. Error, try again. 3 times, 3 different comments, so I give up. Well, it can't be, can it? Sup up, whatever your name is, lickety spit. Because the comment you're moaning, where you're moaning that you can't put a comment up, that's gone up. What words are you using? You must be saying something foul. And it must be the automatic censor on YouTube. What are you saying? Try again, because you're not that important that you're being censored. I wish you were, but you're not. Is the Rent Boy case going to be a closed court, says Simon Hayes? I don't know. They're on remand at the moment. I think if he really wants a riot, that would be a great idea, Keir Starmer, but you can't put it past him. It should be an open court. Of course it should. Open justice. That's what it is for everybody else. Where are we going next? John, I hope you and your family are well. Yes, they are. They're fine. Thank you for talking more sense than Starmer. Well, that's not hard, is it? And not any methane like Starmer. Thank you. Farage choosing Zia Youssef as a shadow immigration minister was a great move, says Jackie Ward on Facebook. The woke are saying reform are being racist. Well, they would, wouldn't they? That's if they ever get in. I'm absolutely hoping they do. Thank you very much indeed, Jackie. Just nonsense. It's just nonsense, isn't it? I've heard people today. It's the way they're now twisting it. Nigel Farage has cost the British taxpayers £68 million by stopping the delay of these elections. No, he wouldn't have had to do anything, and you wouldn't be paying him £150,000 worth of legal expenses if you hadn't tried to pull a fast one on the British public. Democracy, there isn't a price on it. I know the ultimate irony is no one will bloody vote in the local elections. Hardly, because they never do. Although I may be pleasantly surprised, because I think there's going to be a massive reaction to what Starmer's been up to. Do you agree with me? And as for Zia Youssef, I think he talks a good game. I hope he does well. He's the sort of bloke we want in the country. His parents came here. He's worked hard. He's got on. That's immigration working. I don't think he's ever worn a pair of flip-flops. I'll have to check. Den Spinks, it's clear now that Labour's excuse for delaying local elections was reorganisation. It was all bullshit, John. Yes, it was, Den. You're right. They're liars. Starmer gets up in the morning and lies. He lies all day. He's a liar. He's an absolute liar. And he's got no spine. He hasn't got a policy. He hasn't got a vision. He hasn't. Den Spinks, my donation's in the post to Richard Pope. Thank you very much. Yeah, he sends the money to Richard Pope and then Richard pays it electronically. So that's very kind of you. Thank you. John, I'm poor, says Timeric 9732. Well, fair enough. What, you can't afford a quid? 2 quid? Do you want the violins now? We're all poor, mate. I'll tell you about being poor. A bat could clearly see there's no democracy here, says Stuart Grace. It will fail us all. Thank you very much indeed. Craig Marson makes a good point. He says, John, you forgot to mention Fergie. Correct. Sarah Ferguson. Yes, I didn't mention her. She's another leech, isn't she? An absolute leech. I'll tell you the other leeches are the people who keep making films about Sarah Ferguson's ex-dresser, Sarah whatever, no, Jane, whatever. There's another series. And now the people who made The Crown are making another series. My mate, Rick Cressman, right, who's a hotelier around here. I've had him on the show a few times. That's his brother. She smacked Rick Cressman when he was in bed with a cricket bat and then stabbed him through the heart. But there's still twats making out that he'd been domestically abusing her. No evidence, but there we are. And these TV companies, like vultures, keep going on. The story's about 20 or 30 years old. And because there's a semi-royal connection, they keep dragging it up. They don't care about Rick's family. I think it's absolutely disgraceful. It'll be some Miranda and Jeremy at Channel 4, Channel 5, whatever channel it's bloody on. Yeah, wouldn't he make a marvellous thing? Maybe we should talk about whether there was domestic abuse and was he a misogynist? He's dead. Cricket bat across the head and stabbed. He's dead. Jeremy and Miranda. Now off your trot and make some poxy quiz show, will you? Yeah, what are we up to? The true problem is the voting system. Proportional representation would help solve this. Well, that's what I said earlier in the show. I don't know how we can have proper democracy without it anymore. I used to be against it. First past the post, that seemed fair. It's not. It's not. Or we have a president. You know, like Donald Trump is the president. Starmer's not. He acts like it. I don't know. I'm open to your views, whatever you want to say. And I'm also open to your donations. Just click the little dollar sign and donate anything that you can afford. Simple to do. Alternatively, go to www.buymeabeer.com/John Gaunt. I thought we'd have had some Sky Blue fans on wanting to revel in the fact that we were so brilliant last night. Had you right? And what happened to him? What did they put in his tea last night? He hasn't been very good recently, but he was outstanding last night. The best one, though, was Tats, wasn't it? Our little Japanese player. Where's he get his energy from? He must have had too much of that. What was that stuff? What was that orange juice? It wasn't orange juice at all. That they warned us off giving our kids years ago. Made them hyperactive. But he must have been brought up on that in Japan. He's incredible. John, did you see that Tommy Robinson has had to leave the country? Yeah, I've seen the story. After being warned by Bedfordshire police that he's on an Islamic hit list. It's effing disgusting. Yeah, it is. I did wonder why he publicised it, if I'm honest with you. I know he's looking for donations, but I don't know. Something in that story doesn't ring true. Apart from the fact Bedfordshire police are crap. They always have been. They always will be. That's a separate issue. I used to work in Luton. I know what they're like. I think they're up to something big, John, says Survivor 789. WEF said something disastrous is inevitable. Weather being one of them. Chemical spraying. What do you think? Well, I don't know about chemical spray. I'll tell you one thing I do think. There is something up with the weather, isn't it? Whether it's intentional for us all to get into the global warming thing, I don't know. But it has rained every day since Christmas. Or one day I think it didn't rain. So, yeah, I find that worrying. John, when do you think Starmer next U-turn will be? What's the time now? Any minute now, probably. I don't know, mate. I don't care, really. I just want him out. Starmer wants back in the UK because he wants the top job, says Pam Millett on YouTube. You're right, Pam. Oh yeah, he wants a top job in Europe, dictating about WA machines when he gets kicked out by us Brits. You're absolutely right. That's what'll happen as well. They'll all be on the choo-choo. Distraction, says Survivor. Yeah, well, that's what they play. Look over here while I'm doing this over here. It's what they do with the illegal immigrants. The problem really comes down, says Nicholas Foster, to trying to be what we were in 1940, and we'll never achieve this. Humans have evolved. We'll never stop human progression. Therefore, we need to build a UK for the future. Well, that's soundbite talk. How long have you been working for Labour? But what does it mean? Give us a bit more meat, Nicholas. Thank you for your comments. He says, not reforming, not restoring, but rebuilding from the ground up. Oh, he has given a bit more in the second comment. Yeah, but how? How? The guy who thinks he's on a hit list has just come back. I said what you eventually said with a little bit extra. It was no democracy, especially with FPTP. The only other European country to use the same system is Belarus. They like it that way. You've lost me, mate. Don't use... Oh, first past the post. Oh, okay. Well, if you only said what I said, I can't understand why your comment didn't go up. Anyway, freedom for tooting, mate. I'm with you. Sorry, John. Normally you get rather ticked off when people say hi to everyone. Not policing, just trying to hear other opinions. But hey, money for football, money for football, money for a moderator. Well, if we had the money, that'd be great, my friend. Sunny Delight, says Leanne Tail. 7251. Anyone just joining now go, what? Yes, Sunny Delight. Sunny D. Craig Urquhart says, was it Sunny D? It was, yeah. The drink they made there was no fresh orange in it, was there? Right. And but they put it in fridges to make you think it was healthy. And you get all these hyperactive kids running around. Crazy. Dominic Cummings. Nicholas Foster. I got the feeling this guy might have something interesting to say. He's stated multiple times that we need a new system, as the PM isn't the one running the country. It's the shadow suit. Yeah, I've read some of what Dominic Cummings said. I think there's some validity in it. I know where you're coming from, Nicholas. Yeah. Starmer's not running the country. That's obvious. Yeah, I'm with you on that. It's either British Jew or British foreign nationals or British or British immigrants or British non-dom. I don't know what that means. I do not know what that means. Starmer's walking his dog up and down the gardens of number 10. John in News, Den Springs. Don't know. I'm definitely on your hit list now, aren't I? Says Tilman. You're doing my head in. You really are. Right, anybody else want to comment? Anybody got something sensible to say? It looks like most of you seem to agree with me that we're not really living in a democracy. Be nice to have some ideas of how we make it better. Clearly, proportional representation has got to be part of it. Got a view? Let me hear it. Coventry City fans, I thought you'd have been on saying, oh, wasn't it great? It was absolutely brilliant. And the atmosphere in that stadium, because when we first got it, it was rubbish, wasn't it? They just couldn't get an atmosphere going. But now, it was great. And you know what? When football does that for you, when you go to a football game and you're caught up in the atmosphere and all the people and the chanting and everything else, and then you win, it just makes you feel so much better. And then You wake up in the morning and it's the same old shit, different day. With the politicians, isn't it? Anyway, not to worry. It's Pancake Day. Have you had one yet? No, nor have I. It's my daughter, Rosie. She's the one who actually demands we have pancakes on Shrove Tuesday. Right. I'm off. Thank you very much for joining in. Thank you to Jim, who donated. Nobody else has, so that's nice of you. So I might see you tomorrow. Unless I'm selling the big issue outside Primark in Coventry City Centre. Who's this? Leanne Taylor says, actually, I'm a Luton Town fan, but I used to like Highfield Road. Well, you would. Highfield Road was an improvement on the shithole you've got, isn't it? Kenilworth Road. I'm being sarcastic because I worked in Luton, as you know, for 6 years. I actually liked Kenilworth Road. I love the way you go up and over the houses or by the sides of the houses. And there's an old timber stadium, wasn't it, in a sense, made of wood. Proper football. And then you had that idiot. Was it Evans? Was it Evans? Evans? It was the chairman who put the plastic pitch in. And then you had another guy called David, somebody who I knew quite well because he was always on my breakfast show in Luton because people were slagging him off. Can't remember. And then, of course, you beat us and got promoted, relegated the same year, but you did beat us. You deserved to beat us, to be honest. You were the better team on the day. But we're going to put that right because we're not going to the playoff final. We're going to be promoted immediately. Ken Jones says, John, look at the picture behind you. You can see the evil in his eyes. Evil Eyes. Was that Devil? Was there a song called Evil Eyes by Cliff Richards? Cliff Richard. It's not Cliff Richards, is it? Devil. No, I can't remember. Jackie Ward sent me the 3 red hearts. Means I can go now. Where was I? I'm just finishing. John, did Gary Mebbutt get the winner for you last night? Oh, Niven, that's funny. That's funny. I tell you what, a mate of mine, he set up a fanzine after that. If you don't know, in the cup final in '87, Gary Mebbutt scored a home goal for Spurs and he came off his knee. And they called this magazine Gary Mabbutt's left knee. I interviewed him years later. I think when I was on BBC London and BBC Luton, I interviewed him. Nice man. Diabetic, isn't he? He's a diabetic type 1, but he became a top footballer. So good on him. So no, Niven Casey. We didn't have any help. It was a penalty, actually. The 3rd goal, if I remember right. Taken by your man, and he put it away brilliantly. I nearly forgot, Niven. You've reminded me by you coming on now. I love the smell of napalm in the morning. Hey, what do you think about that? What do you think about that? One of the greatest actors of all time, Robert Duvall, 95. Of course, he was in The Godfather. He was in Apocalypse Now, which I don't know if I've told you before, is my favourite ever film. Johnny, was it? No, not Johnny. What's he say? He don't surf, anyway. And then he's got them all surfing whilst the napalm's coming. It's terrible. Indictment of War. Marlon Brando. The horror. The horror. Did I ever tell you I went to see that film with Simon Le Bon? Yeah? Oh, yes, I did. When I was at university with him, right? We went down to London for the weekend, and I said, I really want to go and see this movie. It's meant to be brilliant. It had just come out. I said, Marlon Brando's in it. And at the time, Simon wanted to be an actor, and he was always a good-looking fella. There's no two ways about it. Well, especially when he stood next to me. But we're walking through Leicester Square, because he was from London. He said, we'll go and see a Leicester Square then, in the Odeon, right? It was when it was a big cinema. We went in the afternoon. There was only 2 of us. The rest of the cinema was empty. I think they must have thought, well, I don't know what they thought. Anyway, we sat there, and the movie was brilliant. And that bit, you know, when they come over with the helicopters over the ocean, and then you see the guy's finger, and he puts on the Ride of the Valkyries. One of my favourite bits of music. Charlie don't surf. That's what I was thinking. Sorry, Niven. And he puts the Ride of the Valkyries on, the whole cinema. There was only us two in it. There must have been about, I don't know, in those days, I don't know how big it was, 2,000 seats, huge screen. The helicopter, and it was horrific because it was so exciting. But they were going to basically napalm a village. Horrendous. And of course, I loved it mostly because my Uncle Jib, who I lived with for a small time when I was in Hull, he was as hard as nails, this guy, and married to me Auntie Jean. He told me about the Heart of Darkness. And do you know that? Apocalypse Now is based on a book. What kind of based on a book called Heart of Darkness, where basically they go up the river, and as they go up the river, they progressively get madder and madder, and civilization breaks down, which is, in a sense, is what Apocalypse Now does. You know, he's waiting for his mission, then he goes off on his mission, and it gets crazier and crazier. So I'm trying to explain this. As we walk through Leicester Square, right, with this wannabe pop star, right? I don't know what ever happened to Simon Le Bon. He wanted to be a pop star. We're walking through that, and I'm trying to explain to him, because I was being a bit pretentious, the intertextuality of what we were about to see, and the fact that it's kind of based on Conrad's Heart of Darkness, which, if you haven't read, it's only a small book. Doesn't take you too long. Read it. It's absolutely brilliant. I read a load of those sorts of books. Have you ever read Moby Dick? Don't laugh. I bet you've seen the film, but have you actually ever read the original book? I know I'm auditioning for a job on Radio 5 Dead here, but honestly, Moby Dick, what a book! And when you start to learn how each book is connected to another book and was inspiration for it, it's fascinating. Shut up, John. Talk about the flip-flop warriors. It's easier. But anyway, so we're walking through Leicester Square, and I'm explaining to him about it, and he wasn't that interested. He was more interested in looking like Jim Morrison out the doors with his slashed shirt, you know. Anyway, great movie. Charlie Don't Surf. I think I've got it on about 3 or 4 different formats. I've got it on videos. I've got it on DVDs. Do you remember them? Huh? I think I've even got it on Sky. I've bought it on Sky. I love it. I love it. I used to be able to recite the whole of that speech. You know, when he's lying in his room and the fan is going, and he's going, Saigon, right? And he's annoyed because he hasn't gone on his mission yet. Brilliant. Just brilliant. And then, of course, Duval was also in Godfather. Again, one of my favourite ever movies. You can only have one favourite, though, can't you? And mine's Apocalypse Now. But in the same list would come the Godfather film. My daughter, Rosie, is absolutely fanatical about the Godfather movies. And, of course, then she went on, studied Italian and lived in Italy and all the rest of it. She just loves it. The music in that movie. Brilliant. We don't have movies like that anymore, do we? Huh? Well, I don't think we do. I'm becoming an old fart. David KT says, watched the game last night. I'd sooner Highfield Road, the pies and the old blue disability cars on the corners getting the ball smashed into them. Yes. You're bringing back memories. Louise McConnell. I read The Railway Man because of you recommending it back on BBC Home Counties. Not Home Counties, 3 Counties. That's a brilliant book as well. That is a brilliant book. If you never read that, fantastic. Written by, what's the old boy's name? I should remember that. I interviewed him. Anyway, it's a great book. It's about a bloke who was a railway enthusiast in Scotland. He gets married. He goes to war. He gets captured by the Japanese and tortured by a Korean guy, actually. Gets tortured and because he'd made a map of the railway because he was fascinated by, you know, bridge over the River Kwai. It's all that thing. But he was just an ordinary bloke. And he got tortured. And I'll tell you who gave me that book. Am I boring you yet? If I'm boring you, just tell me and I'll shut up. But they made that into a film, which isn't a bad film with Colin Firth. It's not a great film. But it was given to me by the Bishop of Bedford, because the Bishop of Bedford, I was on some charity thing with him when I was on Three Counties Radio. What a nice bloke he was. And he gave me this book, and he said, John, I think you should read this. I think it will help you. Because he knew I didn't get on with my dad and stuff. And on the front cover, he wrote in Latin, I had to get somebody to translate it, "Don't let the bastards drag you down," right? And it was just one of those moments in my life when somebody's really cared for me, who didn't really know me. And yeah, that's what happened. So he said you should read it. It's about forgiveness. And it is, because in this book, I won't ruin it for you, he's married, he's had children, and he can't... Eric Lomax, that's his name. He just Louise just told me what his name is. You can get the book. I know when I talked about it before, it suddenly surged and you could get it all over the place again because it had gone out of print, I think. But in this book, he's then grown up and whatever, and he's been tortured, like many of the guys who were held by the Japanese, and they couldn't talk. My Uncle Arthur was the same. The only time my Uncle Arthur would ever mention the Japanese, got to be careful how I say this, is if you bought a Japanese car or something, or he was dead against it, or you left any food on your plate because he'd starved, basically. He'd been on the railway as well. But anyway, Eric Lomax, he grows up and he has children and da-da-da-da-da. And then he gets the opportunity, again, I won't tell you exactly how, but to go to Japan and meet his torturer, the Korean guy who used to be the translator. And they used to waterboard him. You know, when they put a cloth over your face and you're lying down and they pour water on you until the moment you think you're going to drown. And then they say, "Going to tell us now? You're spying. You were spying, weren't you?" And all this sort of stuff. And anyway, so he goes to see him because this guy's become really big into peace and reconciliation, the torturer. So this old fella, by this time, Eric's 60, 70, he goes all the way to Japan, determined, without telling his wife, that he's going to kill him, that he's going to kill the Korean. People think he's Japanese, he was Korean. But then he doesn't. He meets him in a park. And that's about all I tell you, apart from he doesn't kill him. But my God, if you've fallen out with one of your family, or you've fallen out with, say, one of your best mates ever, whatever, read that book. It's brilliant. It doesn't pass my 25-page book test. Normally, if I'm not really excited by the book in the first 25 pages, I throw it away. But it takes a bit longer than that. But once you're into it, it's tremendous. How on earth do we get on to talking about that? Leanne Taylor says, talking about great films, how about No Country for Old Men? That is a brilliant movie. My wife got me into. Have you read the books? Leanne Taylor. The books are even better. Cormac McCarthy, I think his name is. He's written about 4 of them, all set on the Mexican-American border. They are brilliant. And that film is brilliant. You're right. You're absolutely right. When are we going to get this show on Radio 4 then, or Radio 5? Gaunty talks literature and movies. Well, I've got to stop now. Will you stop going on? Strawberry, atheist, one of my regulars, she says, your old producer on TalkSport, the blind guy, that was Sean. He lived across the road from my mum, Sean, I think his name was, and he had a yellow lab. He did. He had, he's had several. When he was at TalkSport, he had that, and he's got a black one now, actually. And if you've noticed, he's now on telly. He's now like the Washington reporter. Goes out for 2 months and does all that, and then comes back and then goes back again. He's a tremendous guy. Great radio producer. I tell you why he was so good on the radio, on talk radio particularly, because he heard it all in his headphones like I was. But because he didn't have any vision, he lost his vision when he was a kid, he could just hold all the conversations in his head. So I'd be talking to somebody on the radio, and he'd go into my ears and say, da 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 da. And I'd just, because I trusted him so much, I'd just repeat it. And so it made me look brilliant. And he never wanted any thanks for it. He was tremendous. He had a Braille watch, so he'd feel his watch. I've got a great tale about Sean and David Cameron. I've told it before on my live tour. And if you behave yourselves, tomorrow I shall tell you that story about when we both stitched up David Cameron. Now, that is a funny story. But yeah, he's now the Washington correspondent sometimes. The other blind guy, he does it there as well. What's his name? The big guy. I don't know him. I've met him once. But then the people were horrid to Sean because Sean, he doesn't wear, well, I don't want to ruin my story tomorrow, but he doesn't wear glasses, right? So people on BBC have been saying, what's wrong with that guy's eyes? He doesn't look at you, doesn't look at the camera. And they really had a go at him one day on YouTube. Insensitive pricks, right? And then he replied, he said, well, that's because I'm blind. Right. And these people who were mouthing off, they couldn't do a live report into the 10 o'clock news or the 1 o'clock news. Yeah. And they've got all their abilities, they're fully sighted. They couldn't do what Sean's doing. But just this complete, I was going to say blind prejudice, but that's what it is. Oh, also, if you're lucky tomorrow, we went to the European Parliament. Farage took us. We had a week or 2 or 3 days over there. That's when I offered out the Finnish president, I think he is now, or prime minister. Had a right row with him. Fantastic stuff. The good stories. They were good times. Sean, the blind guy, is trying to break up a fight between me and this Danish. He was not Finnish, Danish. It was Danish. Anyway, who cares? Right, sorry, I've gone off the issue, so I do apologise. That's an Amy Turtle. Look forward to it, John. I told the Amy Turtle story, haven't I? Anyway, I've had enough. I'm going. Thank you. If you've enjoyed the show in any way, shape or form, or you just feel pity, please feel free to donate a few quid. Just press that $sign or go to www.buymeacoffee.com. I'm going to watch Apocalypse Now tonight, I think. Yeah, I think I will. Yeah. It's got to be better than anything that's on telly, hasn't it? The horror. That scene on the beach. When I saw that in Leicester Square, big screen, that's the best thing. You don't get that watching it on the telly. Do you know what I mean? Whatever happened to that Simon guy? I hope he did well in life. Right, I'm off. I'll see you soon. If you got kids, give them a kiss, give them a hug. Hey. Oh, Platoon. Will you let me go, Strawberry? She said, oh, that's Mark. He says, thanks, mate. Thank you. That's a great film, that and Platoon. Well, if you're lucky, it won't be tomorrow because I can't tell all my anecdotes in one go. My mate Pete Bond, who I was at university with, right, black geezer, he was in Platoon. He was one of the soldiers. With Stanley Kubrick, he worked with Stanley Kubrick, came straight out of university, and they filmed it in the Docklands before they redeveloped it all. I'll tell you that story as well in the next few days. It's a great story about him. He was a maniac, an absolute maniac, in the nicest possible way. If you got kids, give them a kiss, give them a hug. Don't forget to tell them you love them. It's nearly 7 o'clock. I'm off. See you later. Bye.